Welcome, space pirates. I am your captain, the Dread Pirate Dr. Disaster, and today we're going to talk about the recent Mark Hamill interview where he said something suggesting he would never play Luke Skywalker again on screen. Considering the fact that they tricked him a few years ago into playing Jake Skywalker instead of Luke, you can hardly blame him.
Luke would never say that. I'm sorry. Well, in this version, see, I'm talking about the George Lucas Star Wars. This is the next generation of Star Wars, so I almost had to think of Luke as another character. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker.
However, let me say this real quick. I have two goals when covering something like this, and those goals sometimes work against each other. I don't want to make something out of nothing. I'm not interested in deceiving my audience. If you want that sort of thing, there are plenty of people out there who sensationalize and make things up. On the other hand, I do like to give my opinions on things and speculate. It's part of the job, and I think it's okay as long as I'm upfront that that's what I'm saying. As long as I tell you that you should all be taking what I say here today when I'm speculating with a grain of salt.
You have been warned.
We're going to take a look at this Mark Hamill interview, and I'm going to talk about what I think of it, because the timing is interesting. You may remember that this isn't the first time recently that Mark discussed coming back to Star Wars. In fact, a few weeks ago, he had another interview where he was asked about it, and he had a very different response to the one he just gave. I think something may have happened in the past 2 weeks that might have changed his mind. But who knows? Let me know in the comment section what you think. Is Hamill ever going to reprise his role as Luke Skywalker, or is he done? I know what I would say to Lucasfilm if they asked me to play that character again after what they did to Luke in the sequel films.
You dumb bastard.
Get the hell out of here.
Alright, let's watch Mark Hamill's recent interview really quick and what he says about coming back to play the iconic Luke Skywalker.
You know, I had my time, and that's good. But that's enough.
So even though you say you won't go back, there's always a chance that you could go back?
Well, you never say never. I just I don't see any reason to. Let me put it that way. I mean, they have so many stories to tell. They don't need Luke anymore.
Alright, now to me, this sounds fairly final. Like he's made a decision. He sounds resolute. The tone in his voice and the conviction in his face, he sounds tired of it, frankly. I'm not a body language expert, but that's what it seems like to me. I don't know the man personally, so I could be wrong, but that's what the body language says to me. Now compare this to what he said a few weeks ago. Some of you may remember this. I'll be reading from an article published by Esquire, link in the description so you can read it yourself if you'd like. Quite a ways down in the article, Hamill is quoted, "When I read The Last Jedi script, I said, okay, well, that's it for me."
Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker.
And once again, considering what they had him doing, considering the contrast in how he behaved versus how Yoda behaved when it was his turn to train the youngling, you can't blame Mark for just washing his hands of it. Yoda didn't want to train Luke because he thought Luke was incapable of learning. He worried Luke would turn out like Vader. Conversely, Luke didn't want to train Rey, but not because of anything she did. Oh no, the Mary Sue was too perfect. Luke didn't want to train her because he was lazy and beaten. The Master was the one who had a lesson to learn. because of subversion or whatever the hell it is that Rian Johnson used to fuel his addle-brained storytelling. They did him dirty. They did Mark Hamill's character dirty. Anyway, continuing on, Hamill is quoted, "And you start the process of disengaging from something that's been a part of your life." We'll skip down a bit to where the article says, "As far as we know, recasting Luke Skywalker with a younger actor, sorry to any and all Sebastian Stan stans," oh, isn't that clever, "isn't part of the plan. What about just another appearance though, not de-aged?" In early April, Disney announced 3 new Star Wars big screen projects, one of which will pick up 15 years after the rise of Skywalker, following Rey as she attempts to rebuild the Jedi Order. Could Hamill return as Force Ghost Luke? He dutifully gives a corporate yet very much not a no answer. One thing you learn working for Lucasfilm: everything is confidential, everything is confidential. So if I were involved, I wouldn't be able to tell you, and if I were not involved, I wouldn't be able to tell you. So I don't know, we'll all find out together, I guess. Alright, so that's the juicy bit right there. Just a few weeks ago, Mark was tight-lipped. He gave the corporate answer. Everything is confidential, he said. And all of these mainstream articles just a few weeks before that were coming out in early May discussing the possibility of Luke returning to the big screen. And keep in mind that stuff is usually done at the behest of major movie studios in order to generate buzz. They float ideas to these writers, to these so-called journalists, and say, "Oh man, this is something that we're interested in, so you guys should begin talking about it. Let's generate the buzz. Let's get you guys some clicks." But now, Hamill is nonchalantly brushing the whole thing off. He's flat out telling us he's done with it. And to me, he seems dispirited. I think something happened. My guess is that Kennedy talked to him about a return, and when he was asked a few weeks ago, they were probably in the process of discussing it. He was probably still within the Disney umbrella. And now, my guess is that talks have broken down. Maybe Disney decided to go a different direction, but if I had to guess, I'd say Mark is probably the one who said he's not keen about returning to play Jake Skywalker.
He's not my Luke Skywalker.
Considering his age, he's probably tired and wants to be done with the character. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he comes back. Disney is definitely reeling, and Lucasfilm seems desperate enough. Maybe they'll offer Mark enough money that he'd say yes. But my hope is that, for whatever reason, Hamill stays firm and lets the character rest in peace. I don't want him being sullied any longer. Too bad Harrison Ford couldn't have used a similar tactic with Indiana Jones. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your captain is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.